What if everything you've ever believed about right and wrong wasn't truth, but a story crafted by those who felt powerless? A fiction built not to elevate humanity, but to chain its strongest minds. Nietzsche shattered the illusion of morality, revealing it as a psychological game, one that most people don't even know they're playing. He exposed a forgotten war between two moralities, one born from strength, independence, and pride, the other from weakness, submission, and resentment. Master morality versus slave morality. This wasn't just philosophy for Nietzsche. It was survival of the soul in a world sickened by false virtue. Master morality begins with those who do not ask for permission to exist. These individuals define their own values based on what enhances life, power, and beauty. For them, goodness is found in strength, ambition, and nobility, not in meekness or obedience. They do not follow, they lead. In contrast, slave morality was born in the hearts of the weak, those who couldn't defeat the strong, so they redefined strength itself as evil. They turned their pain into a moral system. Instead of becoming powerful, they glorified suffering. Instead of rising, they pulled others down. This slave morality was not created by logic or enlightenment. It was born from resentment, what Nietzsche called ressentiment. It's the morality of those who cannot act, so they condemn action, who cannot rise, so they label ambition as selfish, who fear freedom, so they worship rules. Nietzsche traced this back through history. In ancient warrior societies, like the Romans or early Greeks, morality was a celebration of life, pride, and excellence. These people didn't apologize for their greatness. They honored strength as a divine quality and lived with full vitality. But then came a quiet revolution, a spiritual uprising led not by warriors but by the wounded. With the rise of Christianity and other similar doctrines, humility, obedience, and poverty were declared virtues. And with this shift, slave morality began its reign across the Western world. Suddenly, the strong were condemned, not for doing harm, but for daring to stand above the rest. Guilt replaced glory. The noble values of ancient cultures were inverted, and the world was taught to kneel rather than rise. Strength became sin, and submission was called love. To Nietzsche, this was not progress, it was decay. A rot of the human spirit, a rebellion not against injustice, but against excellence. The slave morality didn't free the world, it crippled it. It turned noble instincts into shame and made people doubt their own inner power. Slave morality poisons from within. It doesn't just command behavior, it controls your emotions. It trains you to feel guilty for wanting more, to feel selfish for being different. It tells you to hide your desires, to shrink your dreams, and to silence the fire inside you. Master morality, by contrast, is not concerned with guilt. It asks only one question: what enhances life? The strong create their own meaning. They do not ask if others approve. They live with a kind of dangerous honesty, a refusal to apologize for being what they are. But we live in a world dominated by the morality of the herd, a world that praises comfort, safety, and sameness above all else. People learn to hide their instincts, to blend in, to be liked rather than be strong. Nietzsche saw this as the death of greatness. He believed that morality had become a form of psychological warfare, used by the many to control the few. The herd cannot tolerate someone who walks above them, so they invent morals that punish the exceptional and reward the obedient. They call it fairness, he called it fear. So the real question is not whether you're good or bad. The question is, whose morality are you living under? Is it one you've chosen or one you've inherited? Is it pushing you to rise or keeping you quiet? That is the question Nietzsche forces us to ask. To reclaim your power, you must confront these moral lies head-on. You must unlearn the worship of weakness and rediscover the nobility within you, not to dominate others, but to stop being dominated by a morality that was never meant for people like you. This is just the beginning. If you want to live like a master, not in arrogance, but in truth, you must first see the illusion. In the next part, we'll confront the consequences of slave morality and learn what it takes to break free from its grip. Slave morality didn't just alter how people think, it reshaped entire cultures. By making humility, obedience, and guilt into sacred values, it built a world where people are praised not for what they achieve, but for how well they submit to the system. Nietzsche warned that this shift leads to a dangerous outcome, the rise of the herd. Not a group of thinkers, but a mass of followers. Individuals trained to fear greatness, to distrust difference, and to reject anything that threatens the comfort of sameness. And when that herd becomes the moral judge, the exceptional man is no longer celebrated, he is attacked. Not because he is cruel, but because he reminds them of what they've given up. His presence is a threat to their fragile illusions. This is where Nietzsche introduces the idea of the bad conscience. It's the internal suffering that comes when natural instincts, like strength, passion, ambition, are turned inward. You repress who you are to fit the mold of who they want you to be. Instead of expressing energy outward, you choke it. You feel guilty for wanting more, ashamed of your desires, and unsure if you even have the right to succeed. The conscience becomes a jailer, not a guide, guarding you with fear, not truth. You begin to police yourself. You edit your thoughts. You bury your instincts. You try to fit in, but something inside you resists, because deep down, you know that the morality you're living isn't yours. It was handed to you by people afraid of their own strength. The result is a world where mediocrity is a virtue, where being average is safer than being excellent, and where anyone who refuses to play small is seen as arrogant, dangerous, or immoral. It's not about right or wrong, it's about control. Look around. The systems we admire, religion, politics, education, reward those who obey, not those who create. The more you conform, the more you are praised, but those who challenge norms are ridiculed, isolated, or worse, silenced. Slave morality isn't just personal, it's political. It creates cultures that glorify the weak and punish the strong. Nietzsche saw this as spiritual decay, a celebration of passivity, where people confuse virtue with fear of responsibility. To Nietzsche, real morality is personal, not collective. It doesn't come from sacred books or social approval. It comes from the individual who dares to live without apology, who builds values out of courage, not compromise. He wasn't calling for cruelty. He was calling for truth, for a life beyond guilt and resentment, a life where you act from your deepest instincts, not because someone told you to, but because you've looked within and chosen it freely. The greatest danger of slave morality is that it convinces you to be less than you are, so that others can feel comfortable. It replaces the call to rise with the command to shrink. It kills greatness softly, one obedient thought at a time. Nietzsche's solution wasn't revolution, it was transformation, not of society, but of the self, to become someone who creates values, someone who rises above the moral noise and dares to live by their own light, a master of their own will. But this path is not for everyone. It demands strength, it demands loneliness, it demands honesty, so fierce that most people will call it madness. That's why Nietzsche didn't speak to the masses, he spoke to the few who could hear him. So ask yourself, have you chosen your morality? Or did you inherit it from people too afraid to live freely? Are your values born of strength or of fear? These aren't just questions. They're a mirror, and most people refuse to look. But if you've come this far, you're not most people. In the next part, we explore what it means to reclaim your instincts, break from the herd, and begin the painful, beautiful journey toward the life of a creator, the life of the Übermensch.